Hello there and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are talking about the Cube Autopilot, formerly known as the Pixhawk 2.1, and specifically the service bulletin the guys over at Prophase CNC have put out regarding the potential for some issues with the latest Cube. Now, before I get into this, please go check that technical bulletin out. The latest information is in that, and there is a link to it in the description of this video. Now, in this video, I'm just going to give you guys an overview of what the situation is, in the sense of what the potential problem is, what we believe at this moment in time is affected, as well as what isn't, and what you need to do about it. However, I do want to stress the latest information on this will be in that technical bulletin. So if you have watched this video, please do go to that and check that for the updates. Now, if you're a Cube user affected by this or not, there is some other things you need to know about as well, and I'm going to talk about that in this video too. So let's get on with it. Okay, so just to try and explain this, and please do bear with me on this one because it is quite complex. The issue is Black Cube autopilots manufactured between January 2019 and around April 2019 in a very limited number of cases have the potential for the isolated IMU sensors to fail. If your Cube is manufactured before 2019, you are not affected by this, so don't worry. However, there is still some stuff you need to know about, which I'm going to explain in a second. But the issue is, Cubes manufactured in early 19 have the potential for the two isolated IMU sensors to fail. The Cube Autopilot has triple redundant IMUs. There are two mounted, soft mounted at the top on a separate board, and the bottom one is located on the main PCB. The issue is that the two top ones can become disconnected in flight. Now, you would assume, because there is triple redundant, you would simply fall over to the last remaining IMU and everything would still work. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and that was because there was a bit of strange behavior in the ArduPilot firmware as well. And the issue with that was that it wasn't actually switching over to the redundant sensor correctly, and unfortunately it would result in the aircraft crashing. So whilst there has been a hardware issue in a limited number of Cubes, there was also a bug in the ArduPilot software. The hardware issue highlighted the bug that no one actually knew about. As a result of that, ArduPilot has actually been updated to improve that behavior. That updated version is now available, and it is version 3.68 for Copter, 3.9.8 for plane, and 3.5.1 RC1 for rover. And the basics are that in those versions they have updated it so it better behaves with the redundant sensors, no matter how old your Cube is. So the first piece of advice is, no matter how old your autopilot is, your Pixhawk 2.1 or your Cube, it is strongly advised you update to the latest versions of ArduPilot, regardless if this issue affects you or not, because they have fixed that bug. Now, further to that, there is also some advice on changing the settings on your Cube with the latest version of ArduCopter as well. And this is to take full advantage of the IMU sensors that are in there. And I'm going to explain that specifically at the end of this video, because it applies to both the people affected and the people not affected. So if you are using a Cube made before January 2019, regardless of this issue on the hardware with the later ones, you should update to the latest version of ArduPilot using Chibios, and you should follow the instructions I will give you at the end to activate the remaining IMUs. Now, I'm going to put a jump in the description of this video to that point, so if you are using a pre-2019 Cube, you can skip the rest of it, jump straight to that, and do that settings change as long as you've used the latest version of ArduPilot. Okay, jumping back to the 2019 Cubes. As I've said, in a very limited number of cases, there's the potential for your two isolated IMUs to become disconnected. If you have a 2019 Cube, you need to do as follows. First of all, you must update to the latest version of Mission Planner. That is version 1.3.66 as of today, and that will do two things. When you update to that and connect your Cube, it will check it to see if it is affected by this service bulletin. So if you are in the serial number range, so if you don't know how old your Cube is, update to the latest mission planner, and it will check if it is affected. The second thing it will do is it will look to see if your IMU sensors have already failed, because the basics is if you've got a 2019 Cube, your sensors will either be working at this moment in time or they will not be working. So ArduPilot and Mission Planner specifically will look at it and go, you've got a 2019 manufactured Cube that either A, has failed sensors, or B, currently doesn't have failed sensors. Now, if you have one, it will ask you to give them some details about you and your Cube. So even if the sensors haven't failed, they're just collecting information to be able to contact people in the future. If your sensors have failed, it will basically tell you to contact your reseller, as well as send them some information as well. Now, if your sensors have failed, you need to get your Cube replaced. That's the first thing that's going to happen, or repaired, one of those two. And Profi is still working on which way they're going to handle that. If your sensors haven't failed, this is the current situation. There is the potential in a small number for the sensors to go down. There's no easy way to tell if yours is one of them or not. The basics are it will either happen or it won't. If your sensors are working today, you can fly as long as you A, update to the very latest version of Mission Planner, and update to the very latest version of ArduPilot. So Mission Planner 1.3.66, Copter version 3.6.8, Plane 3.9.8, Rover 3.5.1. If you are on the latest and you do the settings change, which I'm going to talk about now shortly, they are saying you have the option to fly if you feel it's safe. Only by making sure you're using the latest Mission Planner, the latest version of ArduPilot, and you have changed the settings on the Cube, are they happy for users to fly at this point. And the reason for that is as follows. The Mission Planner will identify a faulty Cube if it has already failed, so it will stop you flying if it is broke. The latest version of ArduPilot A no longer has the bug in it that meant it didn't switch IMUs properly. And the changes they're advising means it will actually run the extra sensors in the background. So should the two actually fail on yours, it will then still fly and switch over to the third one. So that's the current situation. You can fly with a 2019 as long as everything is fully up to date and you enable the extra sensors. Now, just to try and explain this extra sensor thing, because this in itself is a bit of a rabbit hole. As I've said, the Cube ArduPilot has triple redundant IMUs. With the old ArduPilot firmware, you weren't actually running all of them in the background. This is basically called an EKF. The way ArduPilot software works, and it is complex, and I don't profess to be an expert on it, but the basics are an EKF is something that takes all the sensor data, mixes it all up, and that's what keeps the aircraft flying level and steady. The way ArduPilot works is they actually run two EKFs. Because you've got multiple sensors, you have the ability to run 1, 2, 3, 4, or any number depending on how powerful your CPU in your flight controller is. The standard ArduPilot firmware with the Cube ran two of these in the background. So it used one set of sensors on EKF1 and another set of sensors on EKF2. Unfortunately, because it was defaulting to the main two sensors on the isolated board, when you failed on those two and went down to the third one, there wasn't an EKF running for that one, and it didn't work. So what they are now advising is to actually activate the third EKF in the background, and the only reason they've been able to do this is because of the change recently to Chibios firmware. On the old ArduPilot firmware that ran Natex, there wasn't enough resources left to run 3 EKFs in parallel in the background. However, under Chibios, there is. They've been able to recover so much resources with this new change in the firmware, they're now able to actually run the Cube in its full redundancy state. So it will run 3 sets of sensors in the background. If one fails, it can switch to the other. If 2 fails, it can switch to the third. And that is the reason they want you to make those changes. So even if you have a Cube that's working today and the sensors fail tomorrow, if the two isolated fail, it will still flip over to that third one and everything is okay. Now, they are advising that, as I said at the start, for absolutely everybody. All Black Cube users who are using the latest ArduPilot, specifically with Chibios, should enable all 3 EKFs and run the full sensor redundancy. So what we're going to do in the next bit of this video is take you through how to do that. It's very, very simple, very, very quick. There is also a quick method as well of checking if your sensors have failed, and I'm going to show you that as well. The latest version of Mission Planner will do it for you, and I strongly suggest you update to that. It's the best way of doing it, but there is a manual way of looking at this as well, and I will show you that in the next bit of this video as well too. Okay, so I have my Pixel Cube 2.1 connected, and what we're going to show you now is two things. The first is how to check your IMUs are actually connected okay, and the second thing we're going to show you is how to change those important settings to make sure that you are using all your EKFs and they're all available within the software. So, the first thing we're going to do is have a look at how to check your settings are showing. The simplest way to do this is to check a certain setting under your parameter tree. So go under the full parameter tree or the full parameter list, whichever one you prefer, and what you're looking for is INS_ACC. Now I'm going to type this and do it on the search because I prefer to do it this way. So I'm going to go INS_ACC. And what we're going to look for is the INS_ACC ID, ID2 and ID3. So if I just make that a little bit bigger, the first one is this one, INS_ACC_ID. The second one is the one below, and then you're looking for number 3, which is a few down, and this one here. And these should be showing numbers very similar to you're seeing on mine. So the top one, which is ACC ID, is showing 1442082. The next one showing 1114914, and the third one is showing 1442826. This is showing me that all of the IMUs are connected. If yours have failed, you will find most likely 2 or 3 will be showing a 0 and not connected at all. So if any of ACC2 or ACC3 show a 0, that means the chances are your IMU has failed. However, if yours are showing numbers like mine are here, generally that means they should be fine and they are connected. So that is the quick manual way of checking. What I'm going to show you now is the settings you need to change. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, no matter if you've got a brand new cube or you're using an old Pixel 2.1, if you are using it with the latest firmware, do change these settings because it gives you better redundancy options. And the first setting that we need to change is called EK2_IMU_mask. So I'm going to search for EK2_IMU_mask, and you can see it's already popped up. So you're looking at EK2_IMU_mask. Now you will probably find this is set to 3, and the reason for that is when it's set to 3, it only enables 2 of the IMUs and it doesn't enable the third one. You need to change this to number 7. So what we're going to do is if you click on it, it'll actually come up with a box, and you can use the tick option to click the third one if you wish, and you can see that it's changed to 7 already, or you can manually click in the box and change it to 7. The important thing is that it is no longer 3 and it is now set to 7. So that is the first one you need to change. The second settings you need to look at is something called INS_use. So what we're going to do is search for INS_use, and there are 3 you need to look at: INS_use, _use2, and _use3. All 3 of these should have a 1 in it. The standard settings are 110, so what you also need to do is change the third one, INS3, to a 1 as well. So you need to change from 0 to a 1 on the third one, and as I've said, they should all be 1s. The final and third thing you need to check is the bird type, and that tells ArduPilot what flight controller you've got. It should be correctly set, but it is strongly advised you check it as well. So it's BRD underscore type, and you can see it comes up, and that should be set to 3, and mine is already, so you don't need to change that. You don't need to do anything with that one at all. So what you need to do is make sure your EK underscore IMU underscore mask is set to 7, your INS underscore use and INS underscore use 2 and INS underscore use 3 are all set to 1, and your BRD underscore type are set to 3. Once you've done that, save your params, reboot your flight controller. At that point, then you have done the settings that give you the most available IMUs, and it will give you the best possible redundancy that you can get on the Cube 2.1. And that is pretty much it for this video. Sorry, it's been a bit of a long one, and I hope I have explained it properly. If you've got any questions on this, please do put them in the description of this video, and I will help everyone everywhere I can. I'll also put the link to the thread on the Cube Pilot website. Again, I can't stress enough, go check that out. That is where you will get the latest information on this. What I'm posting today is only up until today, and the information on how to get your Cube resolved hasn't been put out yet. I've simply gone over what you need to check and what you need to do. Thank you very much for watching. As I've said, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the video, and I hope it's been helpful, and I will do another video again soon. Thank you very much.